All right, everyone, welcome to Now That's Debatable. This is your host, Fantastic Facade. I am joined with me with my general co-host, Geocentric Skeptic, and we have a guest speaker on, Sai. Are you two with me?
I'm
Loud
here.
and clear.
Perfect. So today we're going to be talking about gun control. So I'm going to go ahead and start the process of getting this shared on Facebook. If Sai, you'd like to kind of introduce yourself, or just want to just go by Sai, that's more than fine. Geo, if you'd have anything you'd like to address, you're more than welcome to do so, and we will take off very shortly.
Yeah, sure. So were you speaking side? Was it cutting you off?
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. So I was gonna say that. Yeah. I mean, main reason that want to have this conversation. It was just a brief interaction that we had online, and it originally started with I think it was a video of some sort of security officer showing how to lock a door, and we kind of got on the issue of gun control and I guess how to prevent these mass shootings that seem to be a problem mostly in the United States, which it's a little strange, but um, that's how we kind of started this conversation. So I don't know if you had anywhere you wanted to start it. My question was in regard to these these shootings. What would let's say you had complete legislative control of the country. What would you do to prevent this from happening again?
Pretty simple gun licensing similar to how we do with cars. You have your different levels of weapons. You got like your class C for a bolt action, your class B for handguns, your class A for an M4 or a semi-automatic with low recoil, then your class F, so that's like automatic, specialty, explosives like that. Basically, you go through the process of determining that you are able, capable, and trained to use these weapons before you can essentially get them.
So so what about the previous shooter down in Texas? My understanding was he was kind of young. He was only 18, I believe, but he had no previous criminal record, from my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I wrong about that? Side facade.
No,
As far as I'm tracking,
no,
that's
Yeah.
I
correct.
can tell you for sure he didn't
So
have a criminal record of any sort. He would have passed pretty much any background check or licensing that probably would have put on him.
and so that's what I was gonna get. So he would definitely. So he would have to the background check. He would have passed. And now, and you had in addition to that, I guess you some sort of competence requirement, right? So to show that he can actually use the weapon safely. So I mean, presumably, unless he's like some super uncoordinated person, he would have still gotten that gun. So,
Well, it
do you
depends on the
think that that law
requirements.
would have been able to prevent the shooting?
So it's more the process of going through the licensing, and
Mm,
it prevents crimes of passion a lot more. Yes,
okay.
there are going to be some people that slip through, as there is with every crime, right? And you
Yeah.
can't limit everybody's ability to get guns. That's ridiculous. We have the Second Amendment. But you can slow down the process so that these children who are in a moment of crisis can't go in, buy a gun off the street, and be ready to kill a bunch of people in, 10, 20 days. Make a
How
process where it slows down that and it regulates it so we can ensure all the other reasons people die from guns are handled as well.
So let me just real quick jump in. Two things. Our call in right now is restarting, so if you're calling in, it's not going to work. But to address something you just said, are you opposed to suicide by gun? Because
Can you
that's
define that a bit better?
sure. So suicide in the United States, that was the leading cause of suicide. Well, not leading cause, but leading weapon or choice of death in the United States was by gun from 2007 to 2019. Are you opposed to suicide by gun?
So I'm opposed to suicide if you're thinking of it as a moment. You're thinking of it as a moment of passion, right? Like the idea of someone being able to take their own life, if it's a well-reasoned state, I think should be acceptable. But if you're having it where people are in a state of emotional craze, which is most suicides, right? That's just creating a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
I mean, so not to belabor that point or anything, but things like depression aren't temporary problems. People that suffer from depression often do it for years on end. They feel like there is no help, and they may have even tried other things before resorting to suicide. I won't deny that it's quite possible that people often commit suicide in an act of passion. However, that's definitely not always the case, and I was just curious, like, if guns kind of fit a special category when thinking or considering suicide in gun law.
Well, most people who commit suicide or who are prevented from, like they try and commit suicide and then they don't actually go through with it, end up not committing suicide later.
That's
So
debatable.
statistically, it's
Statistically, that people that often try to commit suicide often do it more than once. Depending on where they are, but in general, people that attempt suicide and fail, unless injured to the point of no longer being able to attempt either something similar or something more permanent, will likely attempt it again.
Well, attempt it isn't the same as actually going through with it because there's multiple reasons to have an attempted suicide, right?
I mean, well,
I'm talking about
attempted suicide
actually
is
going
illegal.
through with it. Usually, if somebody's actually going to kill themselves, they'll either get it right on the first shot or they're not going to do it at all.
That's not what the medical stats say. In fact, people that jump off of high locations, people that try guns, people that try poisoning, people that try cutting themselves often get it wrong the first time around. The reasons guns are quite literally the number one choice is because it's really hard to screw up a shotgun to the face. So things like hanging,
Right.
things like drowning, things like cutting yourself, that doesn't really work. And, this isn't by any means a promotion of suicide. I'm just curious where you lie on gun control and suicide. If there's any special laws or regulations you would want to incorporate or include in cases of suicide, given that it's the number one choice for suicide in the United States.
No, just the same thing as everyone else. You have a delay between actually acquiring a gun and your decision to acquire that gun.
How long would the delay be?
A couple weeks.
So this is a real life situation, not even an analogy, it's a real life situation. There's this woman. She was, I forget which state, it may have been New York, somewhere where she had to wait several months to get her weapon. And the reason why she was trying to get a weapon is because she was afraid of her husband, who was violating his restraining order and was gonna try to kill her. So she was trying to get a gun to protect herself. She was actually murdered, while she was waiting for that period to get her gun. What about like situations like that? Because not in all cases when somebody wants a gun really soon or trying to do something, mischievous or I'm sorry. MJ, hold on.
All right, I'll take over. So essentially, that's a special case, right? And
Yeah.
there are legal protections that if somebody is, in fear of their life, they should be able to go to law enforcement and essentially say, like, I need this for a specific reason, and bypass. That's not hard to make, especially if you go to the police and there's a system in place to realize, hey, there's an actual problem here.
Would you at least make an exception? Because that's what she did, and I have to look online to find out the exact details of this case. But she actually had a restraining order on the guy that killed her, and so she went to the police several times saying he was violating it, and the government kind of just failed kind of like the Texas massacre. The police just failed to do their job, failed to protect her, like they failed to protect the children, and this is what I'm saying. So like it, and I can see the wisdom and in making someone wait before getting their hands on a gun, but I could also see some problems if someone immediately needs it for protection.
Right, and there should be exceptions built in. I totally agree with that. But the question also goes in is what's the situation around the man getting a gun, right? If he was a domestic abuser, why are we letting domestic abusers still have access to weapons? They're shown not to be capable.
Yeah, I mean,